Despite the fact that the market is slow, some category of housing has gone up in prices. And one category, surprisingly, that has actually dropped in average price was detached in Toronto. Never thought that would happen.
Hi everyone, it's Devany and Nima. Welcome to Reality Check, where we discuss what's happening in today's market, where it's going, and
Help you make informed decision buying or selling. It's Toronto's market, not today's market.
Sorry, that's why they pay you the big bucks.
There you go. So, starting with the market. So, I mean, like for the last few months, things have been pretty stable.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy has happened. What we've been noticing is the buildup of inventory. Like there's a lot of listings that's been coming on the market, especially as soon as we went.
Sitting on the market?
And sitting on the market. As soon as, I would say, fall market started, everyone was hoping things would kind of roll, but
we thought it was going to roll too with the interest rate hold.
Especially with the interest rate hold. But the problem with that was the reason things did not take off in September after the interest rate hold, in my opinion, was the fact that as soon as they held the rates, they, on the news, on TV, newspaper, they all said that the inflation is still high and there could be another rate hike. So when they say things like that, it messes buyers' mentality. So they're like, okay, you know what, in October there's going to be another announcement, so we'll wait to see what happens. So I think that played a big role. I know a lot of our clients were playing that wait and see, and then October rolled in, the inventory built up, and we can clearly see that. In September, we had close to like 18,000, just over 18,900 active listings. October then went up to 19,540. So because of that, there was no urgency to run and grab deals as people found them. Second reason for that.
A lot of people are looking for the deals, waiting for the deals, and not pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
So that's another one.
And the other reason we don't see have many fire sales happening is the fact that a lot of people are holding on to their property and not letting them go because employment levels are still high. People are still holding on to their homes, and
unemployment levels are doing well, but they are also dropping.
Yeah.
There is a little bit more unemployment.
Yeah.
So that also.
So that is slowly going up,
Yeah.
but the reason we don't see that many homes, defaulting is because still things are pretty solid.
Yes.
So let's talk about Market Watch. So number of sales, we had just over 4,200 sales. Active listing is 16,759. That number has actually dropped from October and November. October was just over 19,000 active listings. The reason for the active listings to actually drop, in my opinion, is the fact that a lot of people that haven't sold have decided to come off the market because they can still hold on to the property. And I mean, I've seen numerous listings that they say, okay, they're off the market and they were released in spring. I've talked to numerous agents that they said the same thing. We're either not listing or we're actually taking the listing off and we're going to list it in the spring market. What's going to happen in spring market? I mean,
who knows?
There's going to be a flood of listings for sure.
Yeah.
But the determining factor of how the spring market is going to play out will be the interest rate, and it will be the fixed rate.
Right.
Because based on the indication, variable rate, nothing's going to happen most likely in the first quarter. But what we're seeing right now, which we're going to talk about it later on in the episode, is the fixed rate that could be coming down soon. So with that being said, let's talk about the average price. It has actually dropped to $1,082,000. And last time we saw a number like this was back in August, which was really slow. So back in August, we were at exactly $1,082,000. So we're hovering around that number. We haven't really moved that much up and down, I would say. But average days on the market has definitely gone up. We're right now 25 days on average on the market, and the months of inventory has definitely been building up.
Yeah.
So let's go and see month over month what's been happening. I mean, number of sales, we've been hovering around the 4,000, 4,600. Now we're down to 4,200. Active listing came down as we just discussed. Because of the fact that the active listings drop, months of inventory has dropped, so we've gone below 4. but in each area is going to be different. We're going to talk about it. Like there's something really interesting happening in Toronto that I want to touch on. And yeah, so I mean, overall, that's what's happening in Toronto. What do you think right now? What do you think of the market? What's
I'm
happening?
bamboozled.
Bamboozled. Yeah, no, like realistically, depending on which area you are going to be,
So many different
things
things.
are happening very differently. So what I want to really right now talk about is different areas, different markets. We're going to contrast York region and Toronto shortly. What's interesting is despite the fact that market is slow, some category of housing has gone up in prices. And one category, surprisingly, that has actually dropped in average price was detached in Toronto. Never thought that would happen.
Why do you think that happened?
I actually don't know.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't. I think the biggest factor of it, based on what I'm seeing in different areas that have higher priced homes.
Yeah.
And with that,
They're sitting a little bit?
They're sitting, yeah. So I mean, like I'm looking at.
That's the simple answer for me.
Yeah, I'm looking at Lawrence Park, bigger homes that we're talking about, like plus 8 million.
Yeah.
They've been sitting on the market. Bayview and York Mills, nothing is moving. Pretty much like anything north of 5 million. It's taking an awfully long time to sell. And then we go up even up to Willowdale area. A lot of these custom homes are sitting on the market.
I agree. Most of the custom homes are
sitting on the
hard
market.
to move right now.
But what is actually moving is on the lower end of the spectrum, and I think that's
The
what
starter homes.
Yeah, the bungalows.
Yeah.
So the bungalows are actually moving, and because of that, we've seen, I think, the average price come lower. That's not to say the house was let's say, 4 million is going to be down 10% month over month.
It's not like it's a major drop. It's just like kind of ebbing and flowing along.
Depending
I'm
on
just happy there's still activity.
Exactly.
Healthy activity in most of the markets.
I mean, if someone is selling, it's still, if someone wants to sell a product, they can still sell it, but it has to be priced right.
I'm noticing, like we're filming this right now in December and we're talking about last month. So like a little glimpse into the future, but I'm noticing it a little bit busier right now. It's almost like people are like trying to catch up to the end of the year and see like, oh, can I get in a little bit? I don't know if anything's going to transpire, but I feel like people are kind of trying to get a little foot
Especially in the first 2 weeks of December, there's been a little bit of a hustle, I would say.
Okay, you too?
Well, I mean, like this is because I feel like there's been a talk about
the
Bank of Canada wanting to reduce the rate,
Mm-hmm.
possibly in the second quarter of
Lot
2024.
Of
so we all know if that is going to happen, well, the prices are going to definitely go up. But the anticipation of that, so for people not to have to deal with the higher price point, so that's what people are kind of,
I agree.
if you can afford it, you're going to go and try and grab something right now that the prices are lower. So let's just look at the months of inventory chart. So this is the months of inventory. I mean, as we can see, this is the height, where is the height of craziness in COVID? So this is actually the January and February of 2022. This is at the bottom. We were about half a month of inventory. And as you can see, as the interest rate went up, we shot up. Back in April and May, due to the fact that the fixed rate mortgages dropped, we had the banking crisis that led to bond rates also coming down. And then what happened here was the 2 and 3 year fixed rates were hovering around 4.29, 4.39, around that price point. And that's why the months of inventory came down. Sales went up and we saw the prices rise.
Yeah.
And ever since June that they started increasing the rates, the months of inventory has shot up, so much so that in October we hit the 4.21, which I personally didn't think we were gonna hit. Right now we're just below that. Let's go talk about the average prices. Toronto versus York region.
It's funny though that you said we hit it and it's kind of going down, because I feel, and correct me if you think you have a different sentiment, I feel like we've almost found the bottom for pricing in the next like month or two. I don't know how much lower it'll go. I feel like it feels to me like we found the bottom.
See, actually, that's really interesting that you see that you say that, because
it's a feeling that
if we go,
Yeah,
if we go and look at this year's overall from January. So January we had 1,038,000.
Yeah.
That was the lowest point of the market.
I love that you're walking me through this.
Yeah.
Go for it.
And then from that point on, we've been hovering around 1,001,000, right? We were at 1,095,000.
Yeah.
here, again, you got 1.1, 1.196. That was the highest point, and then we came down all the way to 1,082,000, and then again hovering around 1.1. That clearly shows a support right there, because a lot of people in different areas that are looking to purchase and are qualified to purchase, when they see a deal, they'll grab it. There's enough buyers out there that
I think there's a lot of buyers waiting, but there's still enough buyers.
Yeah. But there's enough buyers out
that's what
there
I wanted to point out.
looking at deals that are really, priced low, and they're grabbing them. So this is why, we haven't still seen, in my opinion, with this much inventory in the market and the interest rates being the highest in the last 20 years, we should have technically seen average prices dip below $1 million. We haven't seen that, and that goes to show how strong the market is. Again,
Very
due to the factor of
resilient.
that, we have a lot of immigration, and the employment is still doing
Very
pretty
healthy.
good. Yeah.
So you agree that it feels like we've almost found somewhat the bottom? I'm not saying it's not going to go slightly lower, but
It's
more or
tough
less.
to say. I mean, I don't think the prices are gonna go any lower than this.
Okay.
But with that being said,
Because they say you can't time the market, right? And that's what I'm trying to convey is you really can't. But you can look at these numbers and almost say, are they really going to go down this much more? Likely not. And so this may be really the window to be taking advantage of.
so let's talk about that.
Okay.
A lot of
let's do
people
that.
are. A lot of people
I feel like you just
are.
scolded me.
No, that's actually a really good point, because I hear, like, today I actually got a phone
Yeah.
call. There was a thing, someone was telling me, I'm hearing that
Yeah.
the prices are gonna go down further
I get phone calls like
in
this
the
every
next
day.
3 to 4 months. I'm like, why would you say that? They're like,
My
the
question is, how much further do you
Exactly.
think it is going to go down? Because
And
yeah,
the
they
reason-
may go down, but what, by like 20K?
Well, that's what
that
I'm
enough?
trying to get at, because, okay, the prices could go down. Yes, there's going to be more inventory on the market in the next
More
few months,
options?
for sure. Right now we're November, December. We're like, historically there is less inventory always in December. As we approach February, March, April, the inventory will build
Builds.
up. So that's nothing new. Second question I had for them was, how much more do you think the prices are going to go?
Yeah.
They're like, well, I mean, like, we already had, let's say, about 20% drop since the peak of the market. I'm like, yeah. And
Since
have we,
the peak, when
since
was
the peak
that?
that was February of 2022.
What I'm saying is,
Yeah.
since the peak was
Yeah.
a long time ago.
Yeah. And I'm like, have we had that much drop since June, when they increased
Significantly.
increased the rates? No, like, since June we've had probably, like, maybe here and there 2%, 1.5%. Right now I think month over month was like, in around
Barely.
1% tops.
Yeah.
So this is why I think people need to actually consider the fact that if you're going to wait longer, how much more do you think there's going to be saving
Yeah.
for you in that purchase too? You're not just going to buy a cookie cutter house. You got to like someone,
Yeah,
someone.
Someone
You gotta,
too.
yeah. So you got to actually like something to go
Yeah.
ahead and purchase. So if you see the house that you like right now, and if it's at a good price, why not purchase it? Like, this is not going to be there in 2 or 3 months probably.
I think there's like that sweet spot in between getting savings, having a little bit of options, so having the inventory.
Yeah.
But people don't realize, like, both don't really happen at the same time.
Exactly. So, I mean, you got to be in the market again.
And you
to
got
see-
to, when he says in the market, he means actively looking, keeping tabs of what's being listed, what's sold that you're interested in, so you can kind of gauge from there. That's what he means by
You
being
have
in
to
the market.
see what's been sold to get
Yeah.
a good idea of what's
Exactly.
exactly happening in the market. Okay, let's contrast Toronto and York region, because I think there's something
many
interesting
differences.
happening there. So average price for detached homes in Toronto in November of 2023, last month, has dropped by about 100,000. So in October, the average price was hovering at 1,718,000. Right now, we're sitting at 1,618,000. So that is something interesting, and we talked about it earlier. Probably that's due to the fact that lower-end detached homes were trading. And I've personally seen a lot of higher-end homes sitting on the market and nothing happening. They take it off the market. I haven't really seen any fire sales happening in the higher end of the market, talking about, let's say, 6-7 million and up.
Yeah.
So I think that's due to that fact. But overall, what's interesting is in Toronto, everything has dropped. So semi-detached has dropped by about $60,000. Townhomes have dropped by an average of about, about 60,000 again. And the condos have had a modest drop of about $9,000. So they've been pretty flatline, but everything has come down in November.
I love that you can get a town right now for under $1 million, more or less.
Yeah.
Because you know why I say that? There's a lot of people, like first-time home buyers and other people that don't have a conventional 20% to put down on a mortgage, and you can get an insured mortgage under $1 million. So if you really, really want to get that home, you can, you know? You really can.
For sure, yeah. I mean, and that's the sweet
silver
spot
lining.
the sweet spot for a lot of buyers, especially when they're upgrading from condos.
Yeah.
So comparing what we just talked about for Toronto, comparing that to York, the major difference would be the detached homes in York region that actually went up in price. Not a lot, but still enough. They went up by about $20,000 on average. I would say they held pretty steady, and in my opinion, the reason for that is, first of all, they had the highest drop overall in the last 12 months. And right now, there's a lot of good properties hovering at around 1.6, 1.7 million that families can afford, and that's the sweet spot for purchases. And funny enough, the chart that we saw from Urban Nation showed actually the highest number of sales in York region was actually happening between 1.4 to 1.89 million. So there's a lot of activity happening in that price point, and keep in mind these were...
And that pocket.
Well, in York region overall, and keep in mind that majority of these homes are homes that used to be probably hovering around $2 or over $2 million that actually they dropped down. So that's what's really different between Toronto and York region right now, that the detached market is still held pretty solid.
That's so interesting.
Just briefly touching on semis, towns, and condos. So semis actually, again, came down month over month by about 70,000. Townhomes in York region actually dropped by about 80,000, and condos dropped by about $10,000. Yeah. So overall, they've been holding pretty steady. Two items that I really want to touch on that's really important. One is that we all know the Bank of Canada held the rates. It was really not a surprise
to most.
To most people that they were going to hold it. One thing that's really interesting is that the 5-year bond rate is actually dropping. So with that dropping, the fixed rate mortgages are also coming down. So we haven't really seen much happen right now as we're filming this, but I'm guessing till the end of December, we're going to see some great 3 to 5 year fixed options that are which is going to be good.
Because a lot of people are coming up for renewal right now. I'm not going to give percentages because you're going to correct me 9 times. So I'm going to let you give the percentages of the amount of renewals that are expected in the next few years.
Yeah, so the renewals are coming up from March. From March.
Is it 40%?
40%.
40%? But by when? 2026?
By in 2026. So between 2024 and 2026, 40% of the mortgages are going to come for renewal. But as it stands,
a lot of banks are like letting you even like pay it off where you're not supposed to be able to. They're like allowing you to do that. Have you heard of that?
With no penalty?
No penalties.
That's interesting. So that could be one thing because they're trying to help people out. The second thing is that they also won't let you carry negative equity, negative amortization forward. Wow, so many calls.
I know.
Negative amortization through your renewal. So if once as of January 1st, any negative amortization, they want people to settle that down through fixing their payments or refinancing or do whatever they need to do. So that is a really that's one thing that's going to really hit a lot of people.
I encourage people to also, if you have a renewal coming up in the next 6 months, nothing stops you from just reaching out to your mortgage advisor and just kind of gauging, what your plan is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, don't leave it for last minute, and definitely get a head start on that. And keep in mind, if your renewal is coming in the next 6 months, for you to get let's say, figure out your either refinancing or your rate right now, you don't necessarily have to do it right now. If you see there's a better rate down the road, go with that. You don't have to renew right away.
You just get to benefit.
Yeah, you just get a benefit of knowing what's happening. Guys, thank you for watching. So this is actually our last episode of 2023 for Reality Check. We'll see you next year.
Happy holidays to everybody.
and wish you guys all the best.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in the new year, January.
I have the best news for everyone. I'm not pregnant.
Thank God.
It's only upward and out from here, guys, I think.
Yeah, I think market is going to get better. And keep in mind,
Yeah.
Reality Check comes out January 15th, so be sure to watch that.
Tune in.
Have a great
Bye,
day.
guys.